was announced that Eretz Yisrael was closing its borders to everybody but its own citizens, I felt that the door slammed shut and I'm on the wrong side of the door. I think all of us at Chutz La'aretz should have that type of feeling. The door slammed shut and we're with the Umas Ha'olam on the other side of the door. Not where we want to be, not where we ought to be. And it causes me great pain. It causes me great pain. As you know, Rabbi Yaakov Emden was not Zeicha to be in Eretz Yisrael. I don't even think he visited Eretz Yisrael. Yet he writes in the introduction to his Siddur that every Jew, wherever he is, should feel that his place is Eretz Yisrael and he's temporarily away. It's a feeling, it's a hergish I have, but I don't have a good excuse. Let me share with you some thoughts based on a Perek in Navi. I'd like to learn a Perek in Navi with you, but don't get frightened. It's a 5 posek Perek, the shortest Perek in Yirmiyah. And to me, one which poses a question that I've had for a very long time. I'd like to share it with you. Perek Memhei of Yirmiyah discusses the prime Talmud of Yirmiyah. The prime Talmud of Yirmiyah being Baruch ben Neriah. Yirmiyah's main Talmud was Baruch ben Neriah. Baruch ben Neriah's main Talmud was Ezra. And I guess that's the bridge from the Bayis Rishon to the building of the Bayis Sheni. Be that as it may, in Perek Memhei, Yirmiyah records some pain that Baruch ben Neriah felt. And he brings that Baruch ben Neriah expressed himself as follows. Oy no li, woe is to me. Ki Yosaf Hashem yogain al machoivi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu causes me worry on top of my pain. Yogati ba'anchasi. I'm exhausted because of my difficulty. Umenuchalai matzasi, and I know no rest. Why? All the Rishonim explain that Baruch ben Neriah was troubled because he personally was never zeicha to nevuah. He was not a Navi. His Rabbi Yirmiyah was a Navi. And he said, as Rashi brings here on this pasuk, he complained, Manish tanesi mitamidei Nevi'im. Why am I different than the primary Talmud of every Navi? Yeshua Shemesh es Moshe, Elisha Shemesh es Eliyahu. We find that the primary Talmidim of Nevi'im were Nevi'im themselves, and Baruch ben Neriah says, I know no peace. Why am I not zeichet to nevuah? And to that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers through Yirmiyah. And he says to Baruch ben Neriah, he says, what's going on? In the time of the Churban, the world is on fire. Klal Yisrael is in turmoil. 10 Shvatim have gone to Galus, and Yirmiyah is telling Klal Yisrael that the Churban is imminent. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Yirmiyah, Kai toimar elav, say the following to Baruch, Kai amar Hashem, Hine asher bonisi ani hayres, that which I have built is now being destroyed. Es asher natati ani noisesh, that which I planted in the land of Israel is now being uprooted. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Baruch, Va'ata tevakish l'cha gedolos, and you're worried about your personal greatness, about your personal opportunities, about your personal nevuah? We're in the middle of a churban. What are you talking about? As Rashi explains, the Navi said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Baruch, Im ein sein, ein raya, if there are no sheep, there's no shepherd. Eini nigla ala nevi'im ala b'schusim shel Yisrael. People get prophecy in the schus of the Jewish people. You're at the wrong time. It's not a time for there to be nevuah to you. It's a very simple 5 pasuk perek. I might encourage you to learn all 5 psukim. I've read 3 of them to you. And the message is very simple. Baruch ben Neriah, you're right. You're deserving of nevuah as far as your level of greatness is. However, It's not the time. It's the time where Klal Yisrael at this moment is on a path to destruction. It's not a time that Klal Yisrael is to have you as enough. This is a parak in Yirmiyah that I've learned in the past. It should be a well-known parak to everyone, a simple parak, especially if your name is Baruch. I met people whose name is Baruch. They have no idea that there's a person in the Navi named Baruch. My kasha on this parak is the following. There was a Navi named Yecheskel. Even if you never heard of Baruch, you heard of Yecheskel. When was Yecheskel's Nevuah? Do you have any idea? This parak in Yirmiyah was in the 4th year of the king Yehoiakim, roughly 15 years before the Churban. Roughly, actually a little more than 15 years before the Churban. Because Yehoiakim was king for 11 years, 7 years remain, and 11 years of Tzidkiyahu, so it was almost 20 years before the Churban. And Hashem says, we're on a path to Churban, it's now time for new Nevi. But Yecheskel became a Navi after this time. So that seems to contradict this parak. This is a kasha which I had for a very long time, a geschmack kasha on a parak and Navi. Unfortunately, there's no Pnei Yeshua on this parak. Very hard to find an adequate teretz until I bumped into a beautiful thought from Rav Tzaddik HaKayin. In Pre-Tzaddik Chelik Hey, there in the traditional print, it's found on page Kufchav Gimel Amid Beis. He talks about the greatness of Yecheskel. Listen to what he says. Be'ez shegalu leBavel. When the Jews were exiled from the land of Israel to Bavel, kulam halchu b'mar nefesh. They all went with a bitter feeling, a broken feeling. The land which the Jewish people had been for 850 years was now a place in ruins, its people exiled from the land. Kulam harchu b'mar nefesh. V'yecheskel halach b'simcha rabba. Hear this? Yecheskel went with great joy. B'simcha rabba. Why? Mibnei sheyecheskel hirgish or hakadusha ashiyazriach hakadosh baruch hu Yisrael b'Bavel. He understood that this exile was going to be a time of opportunity, that there would be light in Bavel. Yosim mibiyosim yoshim alad masa more than they had before. Yecheskel was zeichet to nevuah now because he understood. He understood. There's a time for techacha, for rebuke, and there's a time for chizuk. There's a time where a person talks to Klal Yisrael about their shortcomings, and there's a time when the Navi has to talk to Klal Yisrael about their potential. Baruch ben Neriah was the Navi who wrote Eicha. Yirmiyah recited Eicha, and Baruch ben Neriah's disciple actually physically wrote it down. He's the Navi of Teichacha. Klal Yisrael doesn't get prophecy now. It's a time of destruction. They're not listening to the rebuke. But a Navi who talks with hope, a Navi who talks with joy, a Navi who talks about opportunity, he's my man. And Yecheskel got nevuah. What an absolutely beautiful message. What a beautiful message for times of difficulty, for times of rebuke, for times where it seems that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not happy with us. A message that in the Galus there's an opportunity for growth. In Eretz Yisrael, Klal Yisrael had been accustomed to the old. They had not started, they had not begun any path of reconciliation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The time of Puranisa leads up to a time of Nechama. You have 3 weeks of Puranisa followed by 7 weeks of Nechama. Michtelio says that the calendar is has a set of months. 3 weeks, a time that we mark Purim Nisa. 7 weeks, a time we mark Nechemta. Everybody understands that follows. And then Elul. People think, well, Elul, we're just starting the cycle again. Mechtamilio says no. Elul follows 7 weeks of Nechama. When you're at peace with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can come to Elul. You can build. That was Yecheskel. Yecheskel understood. He understood that the destruction was an opportunity for growth. And he was going to make sure it happened. And he came to Bavel, and he spoke about lofty things. He spoke about angels in heaven. He spoke about a binyan bayis hashlishi, the second that not yet been built. He spoke about coming back to Eretz Yisrael. He spoke about a future for Klal Yisrael. He spoke about light. That was Yecheskel. That's the man. And there's a happy ending for Baruch ben Neriah too. Many people ask. Rashi in Megillah counts the 48 Nevi'im. Gemara says, Mem Ches Nevi'im Omdu Lam Yisrael. Now there were many Nevi'im, but 48 Nevi'im who said a Nevuah She'utzach L'Dairos, that said a Nevuah that was needed for generations. And guess what? One of the 48 is Baruch ben Neriah. Now when you read that Rashi, don't you have a kasha? From Yirmiyah Perek Mem Hey, Baruch was not a Navi? I don't know why people don't have the kasha. Maybe because they haven't learned Yirmiyah Perek Mem Hey to a reason. It's a kasha. It's not a kasha. At this point, the point of Yirmiyah Perek Mem Hey, this comes on the heels of the writing of Vayichan. Baruch ben Neriah is not going to be a Navi. Later, Baruch ben Neriah moved to Bavel. The Gemara says that Ezra did not come up to the land of Israel with the first wave of Aliyah and the Vayisheni, because as long as his Rebbe, Baruch ben Neriah, was alive, he stayed in Bavel. And Baruch ben Neriah lived into his 90s. And he was Zeichet to Nebuah, because he went to Bavel. And at some point, he became part of the team that rebuilt Klal Yisrael. And so, in darkness, there's a potential for light. In falling, there's a potential for picking oneself up. And what about me? It pains me. It does not seem that I will have the source to be in Eretz Yisrael, to stand at the Kaisel. Standing at the Kaisel for me is a moment of intense love, intense opportunity. I was 9 years old at the time of the 6-Day War. I was in a family that worried for Klal Yisrael verbally. I was in a family where I was raised to rejoice with Klal Yisrael. And standing at the Kaisel for me is a moment of joy, of ecstasy, every time. Every time. I know no Shmona Esrei all year, like the Shmona Esrei when I come to the Kaisel. It's not going to happen. B'mar nefesh, I'm saddened by it. Then I look to Yecheskel. I remember the absolutely beautiful words of the Chavila Rav. Chavila Rav was a Chutz La'aretz and came to Eretz Yisrael. And he said, I miss nothing from Chutz La'aretz, but one thing. When I was in Chutz La'aretz, I had gaguim for Eretz Yisrael. I was homesick for Eretz Yisrael. And now I'm in Eretz Yisrael, I don't have that feeling. I'm in Chutz La'aretz. All of us in Chutz La'aretz have just gotten used to being able to hop on a plane and fly over to Eretz Yisrael and be there. Be there for a simcha, be there for a Shabbos, be there for a vacation, be there. Unlike all of our ancestors for 2,000 years, even Legaim, the Chafetz Chaim, the greatest, they couldn't get there, and we got there, just like that. I hope and pray I'll be standing at the Kaisel and davening Shmona Esrei, yet in Tavshin Pei. But until then, kulam b'mar nefesh, and my avodah is the simcha rabbah. The joy of taking this opportunity and feeling gaguim Eretz Yisrael. A generation doesn't feel it adequately. You need to feel it. The door closed, and I'm on the wrong side of the door. It causes me tsar. And you who are in Eretz Yisrael, you are there. Please go to the Kaisel, say Shemona Esrei for me and thousands like me who won't be there. Go to Kever Rachel. Kever Rachel is the place to go to daven in the time of a tsar or a tzara. Go to Kever Rachel and daven for Klal Yisrael. You need it. For the last few decades, I've noticed and remarked that it's obvious HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing Jews from all parts of the Golus, from the Arba Kampei Sa'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, wherever you stand politically about the government in the land of Israel, and certainly leaves a lot to be desired. The physical fact is that over my lifetime, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is slowly bringing Klal Yisrael back to Eretz Yisrael, from one country to another. In the 80s from Iran, in the 90s from Russia, after that from Northern Africa, and then from Europe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing Jews back to Eretz Yisrael. And I always wondered, what will it look like when we come from the United States? Hope we're smart enough to come. Hope we're smart enough to come. Artseinu HaKadosh. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. The people in Eretz Yisrael are not there yet. The government is far from being there. A lot remains to be desired. But if you have to bet on Eretz Yisrael. Bet on Eretz Yisrael. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is plowing the land, is fertilizing the land for the growth of Am Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael and the last leg of our goals. When Herzl died suddenly as a relatively young man, money was raised at the Zionist Congress and given to his widow to help support. She had 3 young children. And they gave what was a significant amount of money to her at that time. And she asked, where should she invest it? They said, well, why don't you invest it in the Keren HaKayemet L'Eretz Yisrael? There was the forerunner of today's Israeli bond drive existed already then. And she said it's not a safe investment. She invested all her money in bonds of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This was pre-World War I. Now, most of you never heard of the Austro-Hungarian Empire because after World War I, it ceased to exist. Her bonds became worthless. If you have to bet your bottom dollar, bet on Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is where it is. In the late 1800s, the Netziv called in one of the wealthy Jews of Russia who had an import-export company. His name was Vysotsky. He had a tea company. And the Netziv said, go to Eretz Yisrael and start a company there. People need jobs. And Mr. Vysotsky said, what? Eretz Yisrael, tea? It's hot all the time. Who's going to drink tea? And the Netziv said, do it for your people. The Vysotsky Tea Company in Eretz Yisrael was opened. 20 years later, there was a revolution in Russia. And the Vysotsky family got out with one suitcase with some underwear, and that was it. Their import-export company was seized by the communists. They had nothing except the company in Eretz Yisrael. And so the British came, and they drank tea, even if it's 100 degrees outside, and the company flourished. Bet your bottom dollar on Eretz Yisrael. Artseinu HaKadosh. Eretz Yisrael, I miss you. And if I get there and the door closes and I'm there, I won't complain. All of you, share my gaguim for Eretz Yisrael. Share my gaguim for a Tisha B'Av, that's a day of joy. For Eliyahu Hanavi to come and be mevaser the Gula Shalema, the Mehera v'Yameinu. Amen.